Let's talk about Elijah Adebayo. Now, Elijah, since the start of last season, has received a lot of negative comments said about his performances. Do I think those comments are justified? No, I do think they are a little bit over the top, and I will explain in this video. But since last season, since the start of it, he's received quite a lot of abuse, and recently he's been received racial abuse, which I think is absolutely disgusting, and I can't believe yet again we're still having this topic of conversation that footballers, because they miss a key chance for whatever reason or do something bad in a game, they receive racial abuse in 2023, and it is ridiculous, and he does not deserve that type of abuse. No one deserves that type of abuse, may I add. So yeah, I feel like Elijah is a talking point. Now, if we look at what happened the season before we signed, Colton Morris, Elijah was the main man. He was the one scoring the goals. He hit double figures, and he actually played through an injury, towards the latter point of that season. I don't know if many of you remember, he even came on against Huddersfield in the semi-final of the second leg, half injured. He was wobbling. He was literally hopping along trying to run. That's how injured Elijah was, and he was playing through injuries for a number of weeks because he was the only striker who knew how to score goals on that particular season. It was either him or Danny Hilton. Well, who are you going to play? You're going to play Elijah, aren't you? Because he's the younger lad and he's the one scoring the goals. So he had a great year that year, and I think a lot of championship defenders last season kind of sussed him out a little bit, and he was far too easily, you could read what he was trying to do far too easily, and I think he was a target man last year. A lot of defenders were targeting Elijah because of the breakthrough season he had the year before. Now, when we had Colton Morris, obviously I felt Colton Morris was a free man. No one expected Colton Morris to hit 20 goals like he did last season. And I think the championship defenders also thought that. I think they gave him far too much space at times. And Colton Morris, with a little bit of belief in him, we were able to get the best out of him, and we were able to get the best ever season in his career. Which then, obviously, a lot of fans started to look at Elijah and go, well, why are you not doing what Colton Morris is doing? Whereas I thought that was a little bit harsh, where I felt they both did actually work together quite well. A lot of fans said they actually were too similar, which I understand why they're saying that, because Elijah, he is a target man, and Colton Morris, for me, he's a bit of a target man, but he's more of a complete forward. I think Morris can do everything which a striker needs to do: heading, shooting, dribbling, linking up the play, winning your battles. He can do everything, whereas Elijah, I don't think, has that in his locker. When I see both of those two players one-on-one versus a defender, who's more likely going to beat the defender? I think Morris is. So they are a little bit different, but they do have very similar, I would say, strengths in terms of linking up the play, winning balls in the air, being that target man for us. Now, last season, I felt it worked in the Championship. Our direct style of play, it worked, and I felt Championship defenders, they couldn't, get near us at times. I thought we caused them too many problems. We were a real powerhouse. We were also very good on the break as well, having like someone with a bit of pace like Morris, going through the channels, and I thought it worked extremely well. But a lot of fans still wasn't happy with Elijah's performances, which I still think is still harsh, because he still, was part of a promotion winning season, and he also caused plenty of problems in the playoff final. He assisted Clark for the goal, whereas Morris didn't really do too much in that playoff final. So I do think the criticism from last season was a little bit harsh, considering that Elijah, he was a little bit more targeted because of the breakthrough season before, and also I think people were, raising their standards compared to Morris, which I don't think was fair. But this season, it's not quite been the same. Now, Elijah, I personally think, has been a lot better coming off the bench than he has been starting. But what I also have noticed is I don't think him and Morris are working well in the Premier League. Now, I have a theory to this, and I believe that is because Premier League defenders are a lot smarter than Championship defenders, and they are able to read what we're able to do with Morris and Elijah. And I also don't believe we're moving the ball quick enough. Whereas in the Championship, I believe we were moving it a little bit quicker, which was causing defenders problems. Whereas in the Premier League, we're not doing that. So it's So the Premier League defenders can easily read what we're trying to do, and Morris and Elijah are not getting any, any luck in front of goal. Now, I understand why fans are frustrated. When you see, a striker of yours missing an open goal, it can be frustrating. I understand that. I don't think Elijah wants to miss those big opportunities, I think he would love to, have an easy tap in, but it's just not working out in front of goal for him, It happens to every single striker. You can find, any clip of a striker missing a howler in their career. It happens. And maybe with Elijah, it happens far too much than we would have liked, but it happens. Okay, we understand that. I think in the Premier League, the problem is we're not getting many opportunities. And then when we do get an opportunity like we did against Tottenham, and we miss it, fans obviously get frustrated, which I completely understand. Whereas in the Championship, Elijah may actually get another one of those types of chances. He may get 2 or 3 of those every single game. But in the Premier League, obviously you're only going to get 1. I think we need to all remember as well that, okay, Elijah should do it. But when you've had not a run in a team, when you've been in and out of a squad, it is a little bit harder. Now, I know someone like Roy Keane, he hates that excuse, but I do think that does play an impact, when you're in and out of the team. But then with Elijah, at the same time, I think he puts too much on himself. I think it's a mentality thing with him. He lets little things get to him, which then impacts his performances. I think Mick Harford said something similar last season about this, and I think this was a very big talking point last year, that he puts too much on himself. He has high standards, which I love. I love footballers that have high standards, but I think he puts too much on him, which then impacts his performances. Whereas when you look at Morris and he misses maybe a chance which he probably should have taken, it goes like in the bin, and then he focuses on the next chance. And I think with Morris as well, if he misses a big opportunity, he likely scores the next one. Whereas Elijah, he probably needs 2 or 3 to finally click and to get a goal. He needs to kind of get rid of that out of his game. But I do think Morris is a lot more mature than Elijah is, especially when you see how both of them are on the pitch. And I think that's the difference between the two, really. But yeah, Elijah, it's annoying. But as I was saying earlier, I don't think Morris and Elijah work. I think you either have to play one. You have to just play either one of them. Whether that means Elijah starts on the bench and he comes on, or Morris starts on the bench and then he comes on. One of them has to start. I don't think Elijah on the wing or Morris on the wing, or a 4-4-2, I don't think it works, because we're not moving the ball quick enough. And I think with this new system which we're going into, with the 3-4-3, I believe, that's the system which Rob Edwards wants to use going forward. You can have Brown and Ogbeni and also Townsend on the wings, Alfie maybe, to cause problems with either a main focal point in Morris or Elijah. I think start Morris and bring Elijah on as someone that, if Morris isn't having a good game, or the last 10 minutes we may need a bit more height, or we may need some fresher legs, Elijah's probably the better suited one for that. I think that should be the plans going forward. Obviously, I'm not the manager, so I can't make these decisions, but that's what I personally would do going forward. I do think Morris is the better out of the two, and I think going forward, we just need that one striker, not both of them, as the two very similar. But that's nothing against Elijah. I just think Morris, right now, is just simply the better striker. But going forward, Elijah does need to get rid of that mentality of letting maybe a miss get to him, because that does impact him, I think, too much on the pitch. But do I think he's a rubbish player? No. Do I think he's a hard-working player? Yes. I see him running all the time, chasing down, Premier League defenders. He works his socks off. He puts in 110% work effort in. And I just think going forward, I think maybe just one of him or Morris. And then I think we'll see a better Elijah, if I'm being brutally honest with you. I do think a lot of fans will be a lot more happier seeing him. And like I've already mentioned, I feel like he's better when he comes off the bench. So far, what I've seen, he looks so much better compared to when he's starting. But when he does start, he's starting with Morris. So it's really hard to judge. It'd be interesting to see what Elijah does when it's just him starting and maybe no Morris starting on the pitch. But the only way we're going to ever find that out, in my opinion, is if Morris gets an injury, as I see Morris as #1 on the team sheet every single week. So those are my thoughts. I do think the criticism that Elijah's getting is far too over the top, and I think it does need to be piped down a little bit. But obviously I can't stop people's opinions. Everyone's entitled to one, but this is just my opinion, and I just think it's a little bit harsh on him. But yeah, those are my thoughts, guys. Hopefully Luton can win this weekend in the Premier League. It'd be nice to, and yeah, stay out of those bottom 3 places in the Premier League. But yeah, if you do enjoy listening to this video, please drop a like, comment below your thoughts on the Elijah Adebayo situation at the club, and yeah, I'll see you all in the next video.